Thanks for downloading a 3CR podcast. 3CR is an independent community radio station based in Melbourne, Australia. We need your financial support to keep going. Go to www.3cr.org.au for more information and to donate online. Now stay tuned for your 3CR podcast.
Welcome to another episode of Lost in Science. It is an exciting half hour of science on the radio. Let me tell you that we have a bloody good show for you today. Can I just say that? Because we got some bloody stories. Bloody good stories.
Well, bloody good stories and a bloody good interview.
Hello, Claire.
Hi, Chris. We have a bloody good interview today. I'm actually chatting to Ollie Barron, who's a science communicator and also a blood donor and a bone marrow donor. Did you know you can donate bone marrow, Chris?
I have heard of this concept, yes.
You have heard of it? Are you on the registry?
I'm not sure. I know that I have sent off forms at various points, but I cannot find the paperwork.
Right, okay.
So I don't know.
It is out of your reach at the moment.
Out of my reach at the moment, yeah.
Right. Well, Ollie Barron is a bone marrow donor, and he has donated bone marrow, and only one in every 3,000 people who sign up to be a bone marrow donor ever has to actually donate bone marrow. It's a very rare thing that you would have to do, even if you were registered for this. So he's going to talk us through the process that he went through donating his marrow and, saving someone's life and the science behind it.
Great.
Yeah. So it actually helps leukemia.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Well, and in other bloody news...
other bloody news, yeah.
I'll be speaking to Dr. Jennifer Walker-Smith from Melbourne Museum about... Remember not too long ago, there was a young guy who stuck his legs in the water and got bitten by mysterious creatures, and there's his bloodied legs all across the internet?
Yes, and then and I think it was his dad maybe who recorded... took a sample of these creatures and then put some meat into the water where these creatures were. And there's this crazy YouTube video of these creatures eating the raw meat. It is gross.
Yeah.
So are you going to be talking to her about that?
I am going to find out what the creatures were and whether we should be afraid, basically, whether we should be scared to go back in the water.
And should we?
Well, you'll have to listen and find out, Claire. But let's just say you are looking safely dry at the moment.
Get on with the bloody show.
All right then, on with the show.
So, you can donate blood, but did you know you can sign up to donate your bone marrow? I have with me in the studio Ollie Barron, science communicator and bone marrow donor, here to share his experiences and the science of bone marrow donation. Ollie, welcome to Lost in Science.
Thanks for having me in, Claire. It's very exciting to be here.
Well, it's very exciting to be in the presence of a bone marrow donor. Let me tell you, I think you're the first person I've ever met who has donated their bone marrow. Oh,
that's fantastic. Well, I may be the first that you're aware of, but
I think that
maybe others
may be
quietly wandering around throughout society.
Firstly, let's start off by the question: why do people need to donate their bone marrow? Why do people need transplants?
Yeah, that's a pretty good place to start. I guess the need for bone marrow donation comes up from people who are suffering from leukemia. Basically, are the most common bone marrow donation recipients, and in particular, a bone marrow donation becomes necessary for someone suffering from leukemia when all of their treatment options have been exhausted. So there are a number of different treatment options, but when obviously when it's a really severe case, when all the conventional methods have had no effect and the disease is still doing damage to a person, a bone marrow donation is basically the last resort. It's the last ditch effort to save a person's life.
Wow. So it is extremely important.
Yeah, incredibly important.
Incredibly important. So can you talk us through your experience of donating bone marrow?
Yeah. So, actually, another really important thing to mention up front as well is that in order for a match to be made between a donor and a recipient who's in need of a transplant, it's actually incredibly rare for a match to happen. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but it basically has to do with the fact that it is far more specific than, say, a blood donation. It's actually dependent on your tissue type. So it's, perhaps analogous to donating an organ to somebody.
Wow.
So the need for, to have as many people as possible on the bone marrow donor register is really, really great, because if someone is in need of a donation, if they're on death's door and this is their last chance, then the chances...
You need as many options as possible.
Absolutely, yeah. The chances are incredibly slim of finding a match.
So you found out about it when you went to give blood, or is that like how did you find out about it initially and decide that you wanted to put yourself on the register?
I actually found out about it from a friend of mine who was studying medicine at the time.
Right.
A friend who I played underwater rugby with, this strange sport that I'm into. And yeah, we were just out at dinner after training with a bunch of friends, and yeah, he told us about the Australian Bone Marrow Donor Registry, which is the official body that keeps a catalogue of bone marrow donors and facilitates the whole donation process. So he said, it's super easy to sign up for it. If you donate blood, then you can sign up for the Bone Marrow Donor Registry. Next time you're in for a blood donation, you just tell them, hey, I want to sign up for this Bone Marrow Donor Registry, and they simply, when they're doing the blood collection, when they're doing the initial tests and things, they just take an extra little sample of your blood and they send that off. So so that's how I signed up, and that was probably over 4 years ago now, and then I forgot about it for a couple of years, and then out of the blue, I just got a call from the Bone Marrow Donor Registry saying, "Hey, you have come up as a match for a person who is in need."
Wow!
And yeah, it was like crazy. I was like, "Wow, okay,
here we go."
Yeah, here we go. But from that very first conversation that they had with me, I was absolutely dead set on following it through. Because I knew, I'd read all about it and what it involved, and I knew that in order for someone to need a donation, they must be in an incredibly serious, perilous situation. So my mind was made up like then and there, like whatever inconvenience it is on me, whatever discomfort I have to go through, it is absolutely worth it, and it's absolutely nothing compared to this person that's in need of this donation.
Absolutely. So, so you went into a hospital?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah, that's right. There were
stages?
Yeah, there were a couple of stages.
Okay.
So
you didn't go into the hospital the next day?
No, not the next day. There's so there's a bit of preparation of me, the donor, that happened, but also at the other end, they took me through this along the way. There's a lot of preparation that has to happen for the patient who receives the donation.
Right. And I mean, my mind's just boggling. How do they receive the donation? How do you give it?
Yeah.
Like So
yes.
please.
So I guess in chronological order, so the first step that I had to go through was a confirmatory testing. So where they take another blood sample from me and they double check that they confirm that I am actually a tissue match for the person that needs the donation. So after they checked that and they confirmed that, I was the right person to donate, then they prescribed me a really interesting drug, which is called, for the nerds out there, for the biomedical science nerds, it's called granulate colony stimulating factor, and it's an artificial, it's a synthetically produced hormone, which is a version of a hormone that the human body produces to stimulate the growth of bone marrow stem cells. And, you know, the history of this, I won't go into the history of it, but it's the history of this drug and this area of, you know, of biomedical science was pioneered by the Australian scientist Don Metcalfe, who worked here in Melbourne. Sadly no longer with us, but they made some really major discoveries, you know, to make this procedure possible, basically. So they prescribed me this drug, which apparently is only ever prescribed to cancer patients. So, you know, this is the only case where a healthy person is prescribed this drug. So I had to take 4 daily injections. I actually had the doctor showed me how to take the first injection, and then they left it to me to inject myself each morning in the 4 days leading up to the donation. Meanwhile, the person who is going to receive the donation, bear in mind that I never actually met this person. They're no relation to me. To this day, I still don't know who they are. But on their end, they were going through some pretty severe preparation to receive this. So what has to happen to the patient is they're basically exposed to a lethal dose of radiotherapy.
Oh my goodness.
The purpose of that is to completely kill off all of the remaining bone marrow tissue in their body.
Well, you would want to make sure that you didn't want to back out after they had that potentially lethal dose.
Yeah, absolutely.
Radiation therapy.
Yeah. Wow. So at that point, a couple of days before the donation, that is a very clear point of no return. So, you know, this person goes from having a very, very high likelihood that leukemia is going to kill them to being guaranteed to die after they have this you know, this radiotherapy. So yeah, basically from that point, you know, the moral obligation on the donor is really ramped up, because if you back out, you know, a day or two before the donation, like, you know, this person's definitely going to die, which is, you know, and the thought of backing out never crossed my mind. I was absolutely resolute.
You are listening to Lost in Science, and today we are speaking to Ollie Barron, science communicator and bone marrow donor.
So the day of the donation itself, I did go into a hospital. I actually did this in Sydney when I was living there a couple of years ago. So it was at the Kinghorn Cancer Centre at St Vincent's Hospital in Sydney. So basically the collection itself takes about 4 hours. I went in early in the morning and they strapped me into an apheresis machine, which is basically, you know, a blood collection machine. So for those listeners who've done a plasma donation, it is pretty similar to that, except the one I was on was a bit more complicated. So I had a needle in one arm that was collecting my blood and passing through the machine and separating off the bone marrow stem cells that were circulating in my body. And then another tube was hooked into my other arm, which was circulating the blood back in. And I forgot to mention, actually, that the whole point of the drug that I was given before the procedure is to stimulate the growth of extra bone marrow stem cells. So in the days leading up to the donation, my bone marrow was just going crazy, like growing extra cells that then circulated freely in my body.
Is that something that you could tap into? Like you could really feel? You're like, oh, just popped another stem cell.
Well, you know, they actually said that, you know, one of the side effects is that you feel bone pain in the lead up.
And did you?
Yeah, so sort of in my lower back and
Bonitis?
in my hips, bit of bonitis. So yeah, it wasn't very bad. You know, I had a fairly physical job at the time, and it didn't stop me from going to work or, you know, doing things that I would normally do. It really just felt like, you know, like when you go to the gym for the first time in ages and you feel a little bit sore afterwards. So it was perfectly manageable for me, and, you know, really wasn't an inconvenience at all. So yeah, that method of you know, having the bone marrow stem cells stimulated and collected, from an apheresis machine. That's actually the most common method that they use for collecting bone marrow stem cells from a donor. There's a bit of a misconception out there, apparently, that in order to donate bone marrow, you have to have like a painful procedure where they drill a giant needle into your pelvis, which is what they used to do in the old days before this technique was really developed. And they do save that as a last resort. But in most cases now, it's this really like low invasive procedure, which is, essentially just like a 4-hour plasma donation. Fantastic.
And would you recommend people register? And would you do it again?
I would, yes, to both questions. I would absolutely recommend everybody out there, everyone who is able to donate blood. And I know that, I don't want to make anyone feel pressure or feel guilty if they're not able to. It's really for those who are able to. If you can donate blood, if you do regularly donate blood, next time you go in, say to them, hey, I want to sign up for the bone marrow donor registry, and they'll know how to sign you up and what to do. So again, like the more people that are on the registry, the better the chances that they will find a match for people who are in need of it. And I am back on the register now. I was kind of taken off the register for 2 years after the donation, and that's, I suppose, a welfare thing to make sure, I was healthy and everything afterwards.
You don't burn out?
Yeah, to make sure my bone marrow doesn't burn out. And I didn't have any adverse effects whatsoever afterwards. I felt a little bit tired that afternoon, but that was probably because I got up early and had a little nap. But I would absolutely do it again.
And best part and most challenging part of the experience?
I suppose the best part is, the knowledge that you... that I was able to save somebody's life, which is, the people at the registry contacted me about 6 months later to give me an update. And they told me that the person they were able to tell me it was a woman interstate. But they didn't give me any more information than that. But they told me that she actually made a recovery and was able to leave hospital and go home with her family for Christmas, which was incredible. Just, like when they told me about it, like I had to have a bit of a moment to myself. It was quite emotional, to hear that. And it's just incredible to know that you've helped save somebody's life. And apart from that, it really was, I did nerd out quite a lot, finding out all the science around it. The day that I was actually there in the hospital giving the donation, there was a woman from the company that manufactures the apheresis machines. She was doing a bit of in-service training with the nurses there. And she had a bit of time where she was just kind of like waiting around without much to do. So I was just asking her all these questions about how the machine works and, and all of that. So that was kind of cool, finding out the science.
Absolutely. Well, thanks so much for coming in, Ollie, and thank you for sharing your experiences. Hopefully you will have inspired everybody listening to this to jump onto www.abmdr.org.au, which is, I think, where you can find out more information about becoming a bone marrow donor.
Absolutely.
Thanks again, Ollie.
Thanks, Claire.
You are listening to Lost in Science. My name is Chris. Now, you may remember in early August 2017, Melbourne teenager Sam Canizet was attacked by mysterious sea creatures while dangling his legs in the water at Brighton. Photos of his bloodied legs and video of the animals feasting on a piece of meat went viral around the world. Now, Melbourne Museum marine biologist Dr. Jennifer Walker-Smith has had the opportunity to examine the creatures, and I'm speaking to her to find out exactly what they were and whether we should now all be afraid to go in the water. Welcome to Lost in Science, Jennifer.
Hi, Chris.
Okay, so I guess the question we want to know is, what were these creatures and why did they attack Sam Canizet?
The creatures we think were lissionacid amphipods, and amphipods are a type of crustacean, so they're related to shrimps and lobsters and crabs, but they're much smaller, so less than a centimetre big.
Okay, so why were they so vicious in this particular circumstance?
We're not really sure. We can really only guess. We think Sam probably was just in the wrong place at the wrong time, but lissionacid amphipods are known to feed on meat, so their main diet is dead fish and dead crabs, anything that's lying dead in the water. Now, that's not to say that Sam's legs were dead, but they have a really strong sense of smell. It's not really smell, it's chemo. They can detect chemicals in the water. So if for some reason Sam may have had a cut on his leg or his legs smelled particularly nice for some reason, the animals were attracted and they tend to swarm, a bit like a group of blowflies might swarm on a piece of rubbish or meat.
Okay, so has this sort of thing happened before to people?
I've had lots of anecdotal reports of people being bitten by amphipods, and people have told me that it really hurts and it bleeds a lot. I've had reports of divers being bitten around their mask, but most of the time people feel the bites and they get out of the water and they brush them off. But in this instance, Sam was standing in the water for about half an hour and the water was really cold. He said his legs went numb, so he didn't actually feel the bites, which is why he probably sustained so many bites and bled so much. Okay,
so now you say that these, it sounds like these creatures are fairly common. Is this a common species or genus of amphipods, or was there anything unusual about them when you've had a look at them?
There's nothing unusual about them. They're known to occur in the bay. They occur all around Australia. They tend to be a shallow water species. Why? No, we don't really know why this happened. They're always there. If you throw a piece of meat in, as Sam's dad did, into the water, they'll be attracted to that. And that's actually how taxonomists, people who describe new species, how they actually catch them if they want to do a diversity survey or describe new species. They'll actually set out baited traps because they know that the animals will detect the bait and come in, and that's how you can catch a lot all at once.
Okay, so you said earlier that they are scavengers. Is this what they do in the ecosystem? They eat dead matter. Is that basically their function?
Yeah, that's exactly what they do. So if we didn't have these lissionacid amphipods, we'd have a bay full of dead and rotting fish and crabs and all sorts of things. So yeah, their main role is to break down and decompose all those dying sea creatures.
Okay, now in the initial report, some people referred to them as things like sea lice and sea fleas. I'm guessing that those aren't accurate descriptions. Is that correct?
Not really. Common names can be really variable and can be quite confusing. Sea lice is generally a term used for isopods and sometimes copepods, and they're a crustacean that tends to parasitise fish. Sea fleas are is the common name we tend to use for amphipods, and that's probably because we probably use that common name because there's a terrestrial type of amphipod that you won't find living under seaweed that's washed up on the beach. And if anyone's ever picked up a piece of seaweed that's washed up on the beach, there'll be lots of little hopping crustaceans that jump out, and I suppose they jump a bit like fleas, so we call them sea fleas. And so the crustaceans, the lissionacid amphipods that bit Sam, are related to those beach hoppers or sand hoppers that you find under seaweed that's been washed up.
Oh yeah, I think we probably all have seen those around the place. So are there many different kinds of amphipods, or any particularly notable amphipods that you can point out to us?
There's thousands of different species of amphipods, and most of them are less than a centimetre. But in the deep sea, there's some giant ones, and they can actually grow up to about 28 centimetres. The largest ones have been recorded from the trenches off New Zealand in about 6,000 metres of water, and they're about 28 to 30 centimetres big, so huge, and they're known to eat the flesh or the carcasses of whales and things that have fallen all the way down to the bottom of the ocean.
I've been whale watching off the coast of New Zealand, and when they have the sperm whales there, and would that be the kind of thing that they're eating, that sperm whales that fall to the bottom of the very, very deep ocean?
Yes, that's right.
That's amazing. So, as a marine biologist, what are you trying to research then when you look at these creatures like this? What kind of things are you looking for and are interested in?
I'm interested in the diversity of crustaceans that we have in southeastern Australia and in the bay, and also trying to get the message out there that the diversity in the bay is huge. You don't need to go to the Barrier Reef to see lots and lots of different things. We have an enormous array of species in the bay, and just to let people know that there's more animals out there than just fish and crabs and lobsters, and they're just as beautiful and just as detailed and intricate and just as important in the ecosystem as the larger species.
Do we ever find new species in somewhere close like the bay?
All the time, believe it or not. Not so much for crabs and the bigger crustaceans, but the smaller crustaceans, we're finding new species all the time.
So when you have someone find something notable like this, you're happy for them to send you in to have a bit of a look at?
We are, yes.
I don't want to commit you to do anything there, really.
No, unfortunately, the museum doesn't have a lot of taxonomists, so we have a limited number of experts. But when something like this comes along, we really try and identify what it is and really answer the questions, particularly when it's a health issue like this was.
Okay, so I guess the big question is this a new reason to be scared of going into the water at Australian beaches, or is it just business as usual? If you haven't been before, don't worry about it too much.
Yeah, I'd say it's just business as usual. It was a pretty unusual set of circumstances, the fact that Sam stood so long in one spot, the fact that he didn't feel the bites. Normally people would feel the bite or be moving around, brush the amphipod off or jump out of the water. So it was just a really unusual set of circumstances, I think.
Great. And at the very least, it's drawn attention to our crustacean friends that we might not have thought about otherwise.
That's right.
Well, thank you very much again for talking to us, Jennifer.
No problem.
That was Dr. Jennifer Walker-Smith from Melbourne Museum. Right, that is it for another spectacular episode of Science. I think we all had a good time there and learnt a lot, didn't we, Claire?
Bloody good time.
A bloody good time. Lost in Science, of course, it is recorded in the studios of 3CR in Melbourne. It airs across this Australia on the Community Radio Network. We would love you to get in touch with us. I believe people can contact us.
Absolutely. Ask questions on our Facebook page, which is Lost in Science on 3CR.
Absolutely. Or you could email us if you have a question. There's something you've been dying to know and no one will tell you. We will be that
person.
People. We will be those
people. We'll be the ones.
We'll investigate and we'll find out.
Yeah, we will do all the research.
We will leave no stone unturned.
Except maybe some of those stones. No stone.
No stone. Completely stoneless. So you can email us at lostinsci@gmail.com. You can also find us on Twitter. We are Lost in Science 1, thereabouts. You can also look up our podcast. We are on your various favourite podcasting services. If you do find us through iTunes, I could encourage that. And if you do that, please give us a good rating and a review, because that will help other people to find us on their search engines. That's the way these things work.
The more people give us a thumbs up, or however you do the rating on iTunes.
I think it's a star system.
Yes. Higher star ratings mean more people will see our podcast.
We know what we're talking about. Of course, you can also listen to us on demand on 3cr.org.au website, or you can just tune into your friendly radio station, same time next week. And once again, Claire, Stu, Manisha and Chris will get
Lost in Science.
Thanks for listening to a 3CR podcast. 3CR is an independent community radio station based in Melbourne, Australia. We need your financial support to keep going. Go to www.3cr.org.au for more information and to donate online.